The purpose of this video is to show you the process of how to eliminate brokerage fees within Canada and not pay anything to the courier company beyond the agreed delivery cost. This is called self-clearing. Recently, I went through the process of eliminating the brokerage fee on a parcel delivered by UPS. In this video, I'll show you all the relevant paperwork to UPS. However, this process is the same for other international couriers such as FedEx and DHL. Let's walk through a recent transaction, which is a case study on how to self-clear. On February 10th in 2025, I bought a computer cable from the United States for $79.95 US. $45 US were paid for shipping. Based on the tracking number, we can see the life cycle of this package. We can see when the label was created. We can see when UPS got the package. Something of importance is when the package cleared import customs. You can see very shortly thereafter, there's import charges that are now due for the package. So how much does UPS want? I received an email and they're requesting $64.35 Canadian. So what are these charges? The item was paid for, the shipping was paid for. What is this invoice? To understand this charge, let's spend a few seconds on understanding goods crossing the border into Canada. First of all, the Canadian federal government sets laws through legislation, and the Canadian federal government has a bunch of laws that govern goods and services that pass through the border. Now, the CBSA is the entity that enforces many of these laws. The core mandate of CBSA is to keep things out we don't want in, such as illegal items, and collecting taxes and tariffs, which are essentially a mechanism of paying for government. With all this in mind, we can now answer the question, what is this brokerage fee? Let's have a look at the C.O.D, the charge on delivery document that is typically attached to the package, and understand it. The total value for duty column, in this case $114.31, is the price of the item as declared by the shipper converted to Canadian. The GST column, in this case $14.86, is the taxes which need to be paid to comply with the Canadian federal government rules as enforced by the CBSA. The duty column, which in this case is zero, this is the tariffs, which are applied on the class of goods from specific regions. This is basically another tax collected by the government. Now we get into the interesting part, which is the brokerage fee. The brokerage fee in this case is $43.80, and this is the service that UPS is charging us for filling out the paperwork, paying the taxes on our behalf, and taking care of the associated accounting, which is the result of having to import the item. This is a service that is provided to us, and they're charging us, in this case, $43.80 for this service. Now, the brokerage GST, that's the taxes that are being charged on top of the brokerage fee, which will be submitted to the government. Now, the total C.O.D column, that is the total price when we add the duty, the taxes, the brokerage fee, the brokerage taxes. All of that adds up to $64.35. And now that we understand what's going on, let's revisit what this video is all about. This video is all about eliminating the brokerage fee, in this case $43.80, and once that is eliminated, it automatically eliminates the brokerage GST, which is $5.69. However, the GST and the duty columns more than likely will need to be paid. I'll get more into the nuances of when that can be waived at the end of the video. And now we can get into the process itself. In a nutshell, we're going to gather all the relevant paperwork to the item that we're importing. We're going to go to our local CBSA office, give them all the paperwork, pay the duties and taxes and receive a B-15 form, which we will submit to our courier to show that it has been self-declared correctly, and now the courier will be able to deliver the mail piece to us without having to charge us for the service of clearing it through customs. And now let's get into the fine details associated with each step. The first step is going to be calling your courier customer service and requesting the email address of the person or department that deals with self-clearing items through customs. Once you get their email address, send them an email and they will forward documents over to you. The documents will look like so. They're going to have the tracking number, the date, and they're going to have the email of the person to whom you will forward all of the appropriate documents to once you have them. Now, something that they have that's very important is going to be the invoice. The invoice contains who is the shipper, who is the importer, what the item is, how much it cost, and the tracking number. This is all very important. Now, in the off chance that when you contact your courier, they do not provide you with an email to anybody and nobody sends you any of the information that I just described, you can always take your own documentation, which is going to be your invoice, which you receive from the person that you bought the item from, because it will have the shipping address, it'll have their address, it'll have a description of what you bought, it will have how much you paid, and it will also likely have the tracking number. In my case, I actually took the invoice from the seller and this printed out page, all of which was emailed to me from the seller. And I basically took those documents to the CBSA. So you don't really need to get anything from the courier. It just makes it easier. However, if you don't get anything, don't get discouraged. Take what you have, as long as what you have has the buyer and the seller, the description of the item, the total paid for the item in transit, and the tracking number for the item in transit, and you will be able to pay your taxes and duties on that item. Okay, now that you have all your paperwork all ready to go, the next thing to do is to find the closest CBSA office to you. This is their website, and what you can do is, I'm in Ontario, so click on your province or territory, and then over here, you're able to find all of the offices of CBSA across the entire country. Okay, now you're gonna wanna filter by inland office. Once you filter by inland office, then these are all the CBSA offices where you can go to pay taxes and duties. Now, if a CBSA office is too far from you, what you can do is you go back on the main page where we started, go to Border Information Service, scroll on down, and you can get their phone number here and give them a call. There are instances when you can actually go to a border crossing to self-declare. So if you don't have an inland office next to you, then give them a call at this phone number right here and find out where the CBSA office, which is closest to you, is located. And now you know where to go. You have all of the right paperwork. Grab your ID and go to CBSA. Once you get to CBSA, be kind to the officer. They're doing their job and are likely trying to help you. Provide your ID and paperwork, and when all is said and done, you will have a filled out B-15 form, which is what you can see on your screen. Your B-15 form must have the tracking number, and it must have a proof of payment. In this case, it's a stamp, and it must have an accounting number. This unique accounting number is how we refer to the item that you're importing. It has a description, it has a value, how much duties were paid. This is basically all of the accounting for the item that you're importing. Also, you will get a receipt from them when you pay. That's it. It's just that easy. And now the final step is to take this B15 form and the receipt and to email it to the email address that you got in the first step, which is going to be the department or person who are handling the self-clearing documentation for your courier. And that's it. You're done. Well, you're kind of done. You're not really done. Because what you have to make sure of now is you have to make sure there's no slip-ups, right? Because in my case, they tried to deliver so many times. For example, look, we tried to deliver the package, but were unable to receive payment. A second attempt will be made the next business day. This happened over and over. It was actually 7 times that this happened until final delivery attempt made, which basically means that if I didn't call customer service and stay on top of them and tell them, hey, I want this package delivered, I have complied with everything, I have self-cleared, at which point, after several calls, the item was finally delivered. So the main slip-up that you're trying to avoid at this point is a final delivery attempt, which results in the item being sent back to the shipper. So that's the process. That's all of the information that kind of helps you understand how to do it yourself, including all the paperwork, all the nuances, finding the office, and all of that kind of stuff. Now, there are a few things that I'd like to share with you as some closing thoughts. All right, some closing thoughts. First of all, this process is very satisfying. Now, I understand that it is slightly inconvenient. You have to email, you have to drive, you have to collect forms, you have to call customer service, all of which takes time and will typically delay the arrival of your package. However, the satisfaction of using the system to your advantage, it just leaves a long-lasting smile on your face. I recommend you do it once. Once you do it once, you'll do it over and over. Now, the second thing is tax reduction. There are instances under which it is possible to change how much taxes you pay. Okay, if it's less than $20, you will not pay any taxes. However, I'm sure that your package is over $20. The other thing is if it's a warranty item. If you did not pay anything for it and you already paid taxes on an item that arrived defective and now the manufacturer from the United States is sending you a replacement free of charge to make sure that their customers are happy, in that instance, if you can prove that it is a warranty claim and that you have paid $0 for it, then you will not pay any taxes. Now, something else that could change your taxes is if the incorrect market price is stated by the shipper. So think about it this way. Imagine the person shipping it says it's $1. You roll in with a receipt and you say, no. I want to pay taxes on $200. They will let you. So the same is true in reverse. If the person who shipped it has stated that the item is worth $200, however, on the open market, the item is used and its condition only warrants a price tag of $50, you can explain to the CBSA officer that the stated value is incorrect. Of course, you'll have to bring some sort of proof, examples of the same item on the open market. However, it is possible to reduce your taxes if the incorrect value is stated on the shipping form. Now, remember, if the value is too low, you are actually, and the item gets damaged, well, then obviously it will only be covered at that lower rate, first of all. Second of all, if you ship a gold coin and you say that it's only worth $20 and the CBSA agent knows how much it's worth, they can just refuse that item and it'll go back to the shipper. Now, another thing that's a little bit, borderline, Canadian goods returning. If you went to the States and you forgot something at your aunt's house and now she's shipping you your own item, when you go talk to the CBSA officer and you say, hey, this is my own thing that's coming back to me, I should not pay taxes on it unless you have a receipt showing that you've purchased that item and the serial numbers line up. It really comes down to the discretion of the officer to make the call based on your story and their perception of you. So the tax payment that you make isn't super firm, it's quite firm. However, there are instances where the tax can go down or up, and it depends on what evidence you provide to the officer, and if it applies to you. Now, the third point is a pro tip. A pro tip, which I would recommend to anyone who would like to avoid brokerage fees, would be use USPS, United States Postal Service. It converts over to Canada Post, and I can tell you that usually this has much better outcomes in terms of brokerage fees. So there you go. That's everything that I could share with you about brokerage fees. And if I've helped you and you want to say thanks, you can use the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. I like with 2 milks, and your support is always greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the very best. Good luck. See you around.